So go ahead and open up the notification module, and inside open up the application.yaml, and at the very bottom let's go ahead and define the properties for how to connect to our queue, including the exchange as well as the routing key. So in here, go ahead and type rabbit and then MQ column, and then let's have exchanges. And for now, we're going to have one exchange called internal, and we're going to name this as internal dot and then exchange. Let's also define the queue, and the name for the notification queue will be notification dot and then queue. There we go. And finally, we have to define the routing and then keys, and currently we just have one, so internal dash notification column, and I'm going to name this as internal dot notification dot routing and then key. So if I put this full screen, so exchanges or internal is this one right here. So this is what we are defining, this topic exchange, so we are giving it a name. Then the queue, so let's just say that we are specifying the name for this particular queue right here is this one, so notification and then queue. And then the routing keys is how we're going to tie the exchange to the queue using a binding. In a second, you'll see this in action. And in here, let's create a new and then class. I'm going to name this as notification and then config. And I'm going to annotate this with at and then configuration. And inside, we're going to need the following. So here I'm going to say private and then string internal and then exchange. And the value for this will come from rabbit MQ exchanges and then internal. So let's just say at and then value. And here let's just use $ and then curly brackets. And then this will be rabbit MQ dot exchanges dot and then internal. Now let's take this right here and let's do the same for the queue. So rabbit, and then this will be queues, and the queue name is notification. So here just say notification, and let's rename this to notification and then queue. And finally, in here, we have the routing keys, internal notification. So let's just take this name right here, and in here, let's just paste the exact same thing before, but instead of exchanges, this will be routing dash and then keys. And instead of internal, this will be internal notification. And here, I'm going to say internal notification routing and then key, and delete this. Now let's define the getters for these, and off we go. So you can see that now this is much easier for us to manage these values. So if you want to deploy to a different environment and you want to change these names, so you just change it here and off you go, instead of having to change the class itself. So this is why we should be using configuration classes and application.yaml or application.properties. This is one way of doing things, but obviously there are many other ways that you can work with configurations, but this is more than enough for what we are doing. Next, let's go ahead and define the queue, exchange, as well as the binding.